No silly joke to start this one off. I just want to say how sad it is that we've already gotten a full season and a half of Helluva Boss, including a 2-year delay on an episode, all before we figure out the voice cast, the streaming platform, or the release date of Hazbin Hotel. Don't mind me just waiting for that. Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your BFF Snowy Oreo 663 here, right now. Helluva Boss, a show that's taken the YouTube scene by storm, for better or for worse. For something free to watch on YouTube, Helluva Boss is an outstanding show, almost seeming too good to be true at times. For those of you who somehow don't know, Helluva Boss is created by Vivian Medrano, an animator who is currently working on Hazbin Hotel, a similar show that will soon air from the studio A24. Both Helluva Boss and Hazbin Hotel take place in the same universe, in Hell. While Hazbin has to do more with the fates of sitting humans in the afterlife, Helluva Boss follows the creatures born in Hell, more specifically a trio of imps, Blitz, Moxie, and Millie, and a hellhound, Luna, the lowest of the low in terms of Hell's hierarchy, as they struggle to run a business based on murdering humans in the above world per the request of the sinners for acts of revenge. That's just the surface level summary. This show entails so much more than that, especially with the demon royalty that helps the imp team travel to Earth, named Stolas. The show is themed for adult audiences with its sexual jokes and violence, but also it's a musical with amazing songs in each episode. If you've never watched Helluva Boss, I would advise that you stop right there and come back to this video after you've seen it, at least the first season. It's all for free on YouTube right now, so there's no reason not to do so. Unless you're under 18, in which, why are you watching my video? No kids here, please, now f**k off. Now that only the adult Helluva Boss watchers are here, I believe it's time to begin what you've all come here for, ranking the 8 episodes of Helluva Boss's first season. I'll also include the pilot episode for good measure. While season 2 has already begun, the final episode of the show has finally come out after being delayed for almost 2 years. Now that this first chapter is complete, we must take a look at these episodes and weigh their pros and cons. But which one comes out on top? Let's find out. Oh, and spoilers for like all of season 1, but you knew that, right? Number 9. It's kind of silly that the worst episode of season 1 is the first official episode, titled Murder Family. That being said, it's not a bad episode, it's just fine. There's nothing super special about this one, other than the fact that Mara Wilson, aka Matilda, plays the teacher. I have no idea how they managed to get her. So what's the story in this one? Well, Blitz and the rest of the IMP gang are hired by a sinner to kill the woman that her husband cheated on her with. The woman, named Martha, actually turns out to be a serial killer, along with the rest of her family. While on the hunt, Moxie must come to terms with being comfortable with murdering a seemingly loving family. The issue with this episode is honestly that it's just not all that interesting. It sounds like it would be, but Martha really isn't outed as an antagonist until far too late. Also, she isn't interesting enough of a character to be memorable. I also found that this episode was paced a little weird, with some scenes that could have been cut while others could have been elongated. This episode also has the most over-the-top sex jokes of the show. While a few are indeed funny, such as Stolas' censored dirty talk, most are just kinda awkward, like the 3 scenes depicting Martha doing the old hanky-panky. Finally, the song in this episode is just kind of okay. The teacher's song is catchy as hell, but serves no narrative purpose, and it doesn't match the tone of the episode. I get that's the point, but for being the first real episode of a show, a child could have easily been fooled into thinking this was a fun kid show from this opening number. Overall, it's the worst episode of Helluva Boss's first season, but it's not terrible. It's still fun and sets up the business in a way that lets you better understand the world. Number 8. I remember the hype around this episode was through the roof. When the short teaser of the cherubs in heaven was released, the theories were circulating about what heaven and these angelic creatures would be like. The episode is just kind of okay. Episode 4, titled CHERUB, is just an episode that sort of brings the good and evil sides of these businesses that work with the living from heaven and hell. The story involves a sinner named Loopty requesting IMP's help to kill his elderly business partner named Lyle. The cherubs interrupt the death, determined to save Lyle's life. The rest of the episode just entails the cherubs showing Lyle something nice, and then the imps ruin it somehow. Rinse and repeat. I personally thought that Kiri and Colin were fine characters, but Cletus's voice was incredibly annoying, making every line of his painful to listen to. Also, on the subject of voice acting, Loopty's actor is very obviously just Blitz's actor, Brandon Rogers. It's not like in the pilot where limited money can be used as an excuse. It's just extremely jarring and made it difficult to focus on what the characters were saying. The cherubs themselves are not crazy memorable characters, and they're mostly just predictable in everything they do or say. Until the ending, I guess, but you had to know some sort of confrontation would be happening. I really thought this episode would be ranked in last place, but there's one thing that keeps it above Murder Family, and that's comedy. This episode has some of my favorite jokes in the whole series, and the quick pace really does help it in this department.
We're here to remind you about possibly life's greatest joy of all. money.
The one song we get, the Cherub jingle, is just a less fun version of the IMP jingle. It's not very catchy, nor is it very memorable. CHERUB is just a meh episode that most people really do forget about, mostly due to its extremely thin plot. Also, why is everyone obsessed with Wally Wackford? I don't get him at all. He's just kind of there. Number 7. The pilot for the show may not have set up the stage for what's to come, but it does a great job at setting up the tone for the rest of the show. Mostly. While every single episode of Helluva Boss has some scene of heart, this episode is only comedic, with no real glimpse of the show's potential to do emotional scenes. That's about the worst I can say. I know there's some animation bugs here and there, and the overall inconsistency with the rest of the show, such as voice actors or designs changing. Then again, it is a pilot, so they were still working out with a smaller budget and trying to get the exact details down. There really isn't a story for this episode either. The most I can say is that Blitz calls a meeting to try to get his company profits to increase. The rest of the episode just involves cutaway gags to introduce you to the characters and the business they operate. While the lack of emotional moments doesn't seem like a big enough reason to put this episode lower, it's just at this spot compared to the rest of the episodes. If you look past the animation issues, this is a great start to a show that is full of a ton of hilarious jokes. It does get you hooked if this kind of story would interest you. The IMP jingle is our main song in the episode, which clearly tells you what kind of show you're watching. It's also super catchy and makes you want to dance a little. The other song, Oh Millie, plays in the credits. It's super sweet and a wholesome tune that lets you fall in love with this adorable murdering couple and their sinister ways. The fact that a demon couple in hell is a lot more pure than a lot of couples in real life is kind of sad. A fun and energetic episode, but just falls short from lack of emotions. And this joke didn't age very well.
So your husband is just, how do I say this without being offensive? Retarded.
Number 6. So the final episode of season 1 is finally here after this long time of waiting, and we are finally able to— oh my gosh, I'm completely obsessed with Beelzebub's design. It's so amazing that we got 2 of the 7 deadly sins revealed back to back like that. She's even part Fennec Fox, her hair looks like a flame, honey, and lava lamp combined, and the song is such a bop. And she's voiced by Kesha. She's also such a sweetheart. I love her so much. I just kinda wanna hang out and go to this party, and I wanna be her friend, and oh my gosh, when she turns big, she's so— wow, I didn't mean to go off on a rant like that. Well, episode 8, Queen Bee. The story of this episode follows Luna as she meets Vortex at a party in the Gluttony Ring. There, she meets Beelzebub, or Bee, Princess of the Ring and the girlfriend of Vortex. Luna feels so insignificant next to Bee that she calls Blitz to pick her up. Blitz, still being stressed out from his night with Stolas in the previous episode, ends up going to the party with Luna and helping her open up, at the expense of himself overindulging to hide the pain. While this sounds like a lot, the episode is pretty short, and that's about 90% of the plot summarized. The story is very secondary in this episode compared to the music video of Bee's song, Cotton Candy. I usually save songs for the end, but it's important when discussing this episode. Cotton Candy serves no real narrative purpose, and it doesn't even fully introduce us to Bee's character. Instead, it's more of a tribute to Viv's previous work, allowing her to have a song written by her favorite singer, Kesha. The song is most likely what caused the episode to be delayed due to legal trouble. Bee is clearly the focus of the episode, and despite me being obsessed with her, she doesn't really serve any narrative importance. Anyways, the ending scene of Blitz and Luna makes up for the rather funky storytelling in the rest of the episode. It's super sweet and gives us another look at Blitz's mindset. There's also a second song in the credits, Monster Ball. It's actually really good, but it serves even less purpose than Cotton Candy. I would love an extended version of it though. Purely for the story issues and the hyper-focus on Bee, this episode is going to have to be a little lower. But I'll take hyper-focus on Bee any chance I get. Why on earth are people hating on her design? She's
perfect.
Oh, and before we move on, I just need to shout out 3 amazing artists who've made some incredible drawings of myself and Bee. The first is the super sweet Meowsai, who drew this awesome picture. You can follow her at it's Meowsai-chan on Twitter, or X, but nobody's gonna call it that. I like this one so much that I put it on my phone's pop socket. Next is this one done by Plastic, or at Plastic Rarity on Twitter. This was a Your Character Here picture, and this artist made so many of these in such a quick time. Last but not least, there's this art done by my good friend Griff. Griff is a longtime friend of mine in high school, and he's super crazy talented. You can follow him on Twitter at GriffVito. Now I'm just gonna stall for a moment so you guys can have as long as you need to look at these beautiful art pieces. Moving on now. Number 5. For opening up with a song called Mustang Dong, episode 3, titled Spring Broken, is such a great episode. We have now entered the higher tier of episodes, with this and everything above it being a banger. The plot of this episode revolves around a rivalry between Blitz and his ex, Verosika, over a parking space at their office building. Blitz challenges Verosika and her succubus friends to see who will win the space. If the IMPs can murder more people than the succubi sleep with at the end of the day, they get the parking spot. Meanwhile, Luna tries her best to flirt with Verosika's hellhound, Vortex. This episode is paced surprisingly well for for how much it throws at the audience. We travel to Earth for most of the runtime, and the murder spree is intercut with Veronica's concert, Luna's flirting, and even a kaiju battle. I also found that this episode was probably the funniest episode overall, with just about every joke landing. My favorites involve Drunk Moxie. This episode's one major downfall is the ending. Luna had blown up at Blitz earlier for him being an overbearing parent, making it clear that she only saw him as someone who adopted her, nothing more. The scene is pretty intense, and you can feel the frustration from Luna here. However, the characters seem to forget that the scene even happened by the time the episode comes to a close. The only thing that really changes is that Luna finds out that Vortex has a girlfriend. There's no apology or reconciliation with Blitz. One extra scene here could have made this episode a few spots higher on the list. We have 2 songs in this episode. Mustang Dong is super ridiculous, but it has some charm in that. If you actually listen to the lyrics, it is so over the top in its vulgarity that you can't help but find it funny. Vacated Bonetown is a song that really sounds like it could be on the radio. While the imagery goes a bit over the top for me, the actual song itself is really good. It's sung by the amazing Christina V, who lends this character a sweeter tone of voice that perfectly clashes with her awful personality. The second verse of the song is completely drowned out by dialogue, so that's a bummer. A really good episode that just dropped the ball at the end. Number 4. This was the finale of the first season of Helluva Boss for the longest time. Episode 7, called Aussies, was one of the most emotional episodes that we had seen so far. This is the second time that Stolas had been given a major role in the story, and oof, I don't think we were ready for it. This episode involves Millie and Moxie going to the Lust Ring to celebrate their anniversary at a popular club called Aussies, run by Osmodeus, the Prince of Lust. Blitz has this constant weird fetish throughout the show to stalk Eminem, so he tries to follow them into the club, but the club is for couples only, so Blitz asks Stolas to accompany him. Despite the constant sex jokes from being in the Lust Ring, this episode takes this concept and really rolls with it. Blitz and Stolas' relationship only really stems from Stolas wanting to sleep with Blitz. While more feelings may be brewing, Blitz is afraid of loving someone, while Stolas is struggling with his divorce from his wife and his new life of being alone. The difference between love and lust is also highlighted in the song in this episode, House of Osmodeus. Moxie tries singing a love song to Millie, until Osmodeus himself, along with his imp partner Fizz, scold Moxie for singing something so lovey-dovey. This song is not only catchy, but feels like a full Broadway musical that tells a full story. The way that Fizz and Osmodeus berate Blitz for his love life being trash, and then taunt Stolas for his relationship choices, can make you squirm in your seat. All the while, you are bobbing your head along to this catchy tune. Finally, this episode has a really emotional conclusion, one where Blitz puts up a wall to Stolas when he offers to do something non-sexual related. Then we end on Blitz scrolling through his phone while tearing up at all his memories. My only major complaint about this episode is that it sort of forgets the character development in the previous episode. Blitz learned to not be so overbearing on Moxie, and Moxie learned to be more vocal with his concerns and boundaries. It almost feels like that episode never happened when you see the characters act no different in this one. This episode has a very small amount of jokes, but the emotional moments far outweigh the needs for comedy here. This is the first time we actually really get to see what the show is capable of, and this one leads perfectly into episode 8, letting us see Blitz's further reaction to the night he had. Also, the first episode of season 2 lets us see the aftermath from Stolas' perspective. If a single episode can impact 2 others in a major way, you know the weight of it cannot be understated. Great episode. Number 3. While I obviously do not believe it's the best episode of Helluva Boss, it's my favorite episode. It is also one of the most emotional. I'm talking about episode 2, Lululand. The story involves the aftermath of Blitz and Stolas sleeping together, with Stolas taking his teenage daughter, Octavia, to a theme park called Lululand. He hires the imps to act as bodyguards, but in reality, Stolas just wants to flirt with Blitz some more. Lululand has one of the best openings to an episode from any show. The way Stolas comforts Octavia with the beautiful song You Will Be Okay made me cry on my first viewing. The song has narrative purpose, it looks outstanding, and it even works outside the show for a beautiful lullaby. Although, while I don't think it's as emotional, the original Sam Haft version works better as a sweet melody. The rest of the episode is also exceptionally good. It gives us such a great storyline that we can follow. Wait, what the?
Hi guys, welcome to my new channel.
You can't.
I am Carolina, you can call me Wild, and today we're gonna talk about the bestest of the best episode in Helluva Boss. And what is the bestest of the best episode in Helluva Boss, you might ask? Well, anyone who says anything except for this answer is wrong and maybe stupid. I might still love them, but that's all I can say. So, best episode, episode 2, Lululand. Reasons that it is the best. I have so many that lists out forever, but we only have so much time. So what we have is, first off, perfect capture of daddy issues, and then the wholeness that is so perfect with Stolas and Blitz. during that entire time in front of his daughter. Other parts are the FNAF vibes, honestly, with like the animatronic type of characters that you see, especially during the Fizzaroli or whoever, who literally is freaking ass Beetlejuice with freaking the voice of Alex Brightman of Beetlejuice as a clown robot, which is terrifying but beautiful. All in all, it presents a wonderful theme park with beautiful attractions and animatronics. The games look fun. It gives you love, happiness, the horniness. It gives you everything you need within one episode to feel good about yourself and to feel bad about yourself, but then to feel better that you're not them. Those are the reasons, and the only correct reasons why that is the best episode. So everyone else is wrong, no matter what they say. You can watch other channels, but my new channel that I totally did not just take over, but I just took over, you heard it from the smartest. It's the best. Lululand! Bye, guys.
Oh, that was weird. I guess I should move on then? Let me see. The only other thing written on my notes are that the 2 other songs in this episode were really good. Okay. Moving on now. Number 2. For some reason, my memory keeps making me believe that this episode is just kind of okay. But every time I watch it, I'm reminded of how well it is written. That is episode 5, The Harvest Moon Festival. The plot of this episode is that Stolas is tasked with going to the Wrath Ring for a harvest festival. He invites Blitz and the rest of the team along. The imps stay at Millie's family home, where a rivalry is brewing between the family's new farmhand, Stryker, and Moxie. This episode has some of the best pacing in the show. Each scene is very thoughtfully written, and it all culminates in a brilliant story that has some surprisingly intense scenes. I need to get into the fact that Viv somehow got Daryl Dixon to voice Stryker. His acting is incredible, and his sinister voice and sound design really make him one of the most intimidating villains in the show. The final act of this episode really highlights how dark the episode can get. Stryker has been hired by Stolas' wife, Stella, to kill Stolas. The amazing animation on display as Moxie finds the angelic weapon that Stryker has, and the resulting fight between them is extremely well done. Then the way that Stryker tries to manipulate Blitz is also brilliantly executed. The rest of the episode is pretty good as well. There's quite a bit of humor in it, with Moxie's failure at the pain games, every line spoken by Sally Mae,
doesn't count if they don't find the body,
and Blitz's overenthusiasm in the ring.
Pain games.
I heard games. What games? I'm in.
The only thing that I'm not the biggest fan of is the way that Millie's parents treat Moxie. I think the rivalry between Moxie and Stryker works, but the cliche of the man trying to earn the respect of his wife's parents sort of bores me. Millie would never leave Moxie, so why is the parents' opinion an issue? Screw those guys. The one song we get, Stryker's song, is just kind of okay. It sets up Stryker as the singing type like Moxie, and also paints him in a narcissistic way. Over half of it's drowned out, and the narrative purpose isn't super relevant. Overall, a fantastic episode with some of the most intense scenes in the first season. Number 1. There can only be one winner. By process of elimination, that is episode 6, Truth Seekers. What an amazing episode. The plot is just how Blitz and Moxie get captured by humans while Millie and Luna have to rescue them. On the surface level, that seems pretty standard, but it is so much more than that. The way that Blitz is quick to tell Luna to close the portal once they've been found, his determination to save Moxie, and his unwillingness to give up in the opening scenes gives much more depth to him than he's ever had in the show up until this point. I also want to quickly point out the scene that follows, with Millie's futile attempts to get back onto Earth without the portal. The anger on her face and the animalistic noises remind you how inhuman our protagonists are. The scene where the agents attempt to interrogate Blitz and Moxie is absolutely hilarious. Nearly every line those two say can result in a belly laugh. From Moxie's ridiculous coffee order, the "I'm a Virgo" statement, and the "your mom" joke make me laugh each time I watch it. Next up, we have the truth-telling serum being added to the room. This lets Blitz and Moxie share their true feelings with each other.
Just ask me something specific I wouldn't normally tell you.
Okay, does Millie ever peg you?
Sometimes. Wait!
Ew!
But then we get into more deep-rooted anger between the two. These insults they hurl at each other are meant as jokes, but you can actually see the deeper feelings coming to the surface. Next, we get one of the best scenes in the show. The duo song of Moxie's Bad Trip gives us a Broadway musical style from Moxie's side. Taking inspiration from Phantom of the Opera, a musical that Moxie enjoys, it sees him confront Blitz's awful attitude and Moxie's own inability to express his discomfort with him. The singing is on point, there's still plenty of jokes, and the animation is stellar. Blitz's parts in the song also feature amazing animation and more intense musical backing. This has his insecurities on full display, repeatedly shoving in his face how much he hates himself, and how he fears that he will end up all alone. I love this sequence with how much it throws at us. The way these two segments keep cutting back to each other gives an extreme contrast between these two main characters, which I find complement each other in an odd way. What I appreciate most about the next scene, where Moxie and Blitz have a heart-to-heart, is that the truth serum is seen no longer being pumped into the room. They are no longer fully communicating the truth, but they do feel genuine and meaningful. I adore the character development in this episode. We then get the outstanding fight scene with all 4 members of IMP, with each member getting multiple moments to shine. The score backing up the scene is excellent, the animation's on point, and we have tons of graphic violence mixed with hilarious jokes that keeps on coming. This is my personal favorite part of the episode. Finally, we have Stolas coming to the rescue. This is the closest the show has come to a horror so far, with the possession of Agent 2 and the other dead agents to summon Stolas, the eerie music backing up the scene, and the monstrous appearance of the Demon Prince make this final scene have such a powerful punch. And do I need to talk about the first kiss we've seen with Stolas and Blitz? There's a reason that this is the most replayed part of the episode. I didn't mean to do a full breakdown of every shot in this episode, but I think it's just a testament to how good it is. It's truly the best if you want a little bit of everything this show does well. Thanks so much for watching my video. I'll probably do another one like this once the 12 planned episodes of Season 2 conclude. If you want that, or just like the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a fun comment. I try to respond to as many as I can. With all that said and done, I'll see you in the next one, and remember, Moxie will have a Neapolitan cappuccino, more kappa than chino. Make sure it's got no more than 4 ounces of milk. The beans won't have the right texture otherwise. And make sure you spell his name correctly in the cup. They always put Voxy or Roxy and he hates that. If you can't handle that, I'll have a venti traditional misto. Please use soy milk with 2 blonde shots, affogato, and ristretto. He also likes 3 pumps of vanilla at the very bottom, then add the coffee after.
Shut the f up, Snowy.
Sorry, got a little carried away there. Anyways,